So, hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of Shergroup on the Sofa, which is part of our World Credit Congress series, in which we are interviewing our fabulous speakers for our event in Orlando in fall of 2024. And today I'm delighted to introduce my buddy Jason Hiland, who's going to be talking about his platform and product, CollaborationRoom.ai. But before we get into the interview, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of people. So first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to my nephew, Ross Saunders, who is in Norwich, England, UK today. So, hey, Ross, hope you're doing well. I think Jason wants to say hi to you.
Yeah, absolutely, Ross. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. I've heard great things about you, my friend.
And I would also like to give a shout out to Jason's, I think it's your nephew or your wife's nephew, which is a lovely name, Sawyer. So, hey, Sawyer, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day.
You'll love that.
Okay. All right. So special people in our lives. So we're going to start now. You and I met in Chicago last year, and I was walking around the ACA International Exhibition. I saw your product, and it was perfect for what I needed for Shergroup. But I was also blown away by your presentation and your enthusiasm for your product. So, without further ado, the question I want to ask you is, who is Jason Hiland?
Wow, that's a good question. Sometimes I like to think about that myself, to be honest with you. Well, Jason Hiland, first and foremost, is a husband. He's a fur baby daddy. I've got some dogs laying around here and a cat over there.
Okay.
Yeah, my office is like Dr. Doolittle's office on any given day in here. I'm an Indiana kid who now lives in the desert out in Phoenix. I've always had a passion in my career for technology. That's really been where I've been focused, is on the technology side of contact center life.
Yeah.
I'd love to tell everybody on this that's watching this that, from a young age, I could not wait to work in the contact center world. But I'm like most other people. We didn't know about it, and we just kind of found our way there. I had graduated college with degrees in economics and accounting. I went for my first job interview at a large accounting firm in Indianapolis, and they took me into this like dimly lit room. Like there was a bunch of people sitting around typing away, and they're like, "This is where you're going to work in the corporate tax." And I said, I've got to figure out something else. So I ended up in technology, working with contact centers, and I have a blast. I love the blue collar nature of this environment. I really do. And I learn something from people every time I talk to them. So yeah, Jason Hiland's just a guy who sells technology and enjoys camping. Just got back from Montana and hiking and all the fun stuff.
Yeah. I think you said you took Sawyer with you to Montana?
Yeah, he was up there. Sawyer was up there. My wife's whole family. We spent a week in a combination of Yellowstone Park, where we did one of those under canvas adventures where you stay in like large tents.
Yeah.
And then we drove up to Kalispell, Montana, and spent a few days up there at Glacier National Park. And it's just beautiful. It's a great reminder. I live in, a large city, and sometimes you can forget about the beauty that is still out there and the untouched part of nature.
Yeah.
And so I came back on Sunday, and I feel kind of recharged. So
recharged. That's a great way to be. That's a great way to be.
It is.
So you're recharged. What's your favorite quote in life? I mean, what do you kind of use to get you through everything?
I'm a big quote person, and but if I had to say my favorite, and I'm going to actually bring it up because it's kind of long, and I don't want to mess it up because there might be fans of this person out there, and I don't want to misquote this, but I have my own way of saying it essentially. But not, the quote is Hunter S. Thompson.
Right.
And it is more, let me bring it up here. It says, life's journey is not to arrive safely at the grave in a well-preserved body, but rather to skid in sideways, totally worn out, shouting, "Holy, what a ride." And I try to live my life by that a little bit. I like adventurous things.
Yeah.
And I like my job to be different every day. And that's what I love about my job now is I might wake up in the morning and I'm talking to somebody from India, and I
Yeah.
might end my day talking to somebody from the Philippines, and then everywhere else in the middle. I like camping in wilderness. I skydived this year. I hiked Machu Picchu last September on the Inca Trail. So I like adventure and I like to shake it up. And I've got a wife who I'll say condones it. She's not on
Hmm.
board for everything I try to do, but yeah, that's it. Is I just want to have as an exciting life as I can, and I was talking to my wife's parents, and I said they were talking about inheritance, and I was like, you guys should let the last check bounce.
Yeah.
Don't worry about everybody. Just spend it all and have some fun. So that's me. That's my favorite quote, and I felt bad that I had to read it, but like I said, I know some people take that stuff very seriously, and I
Yeah.
did not want to miss a word.
Well, you're skidding along,
Yes.
ready to, end up in the right place at the right time, but not yet. So yeah, good
Not
for
yet,
you.
not yet. I
Not
got
yet.
many years. I got lots of skidding to do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can see
Yes.
that with the skydiving. Um, so from skydiving to ending up working in the contact center space,
Mhm. Yeah.
how did you end up in this role? Which I have to say, you're the most interesting contact center space person I've ever met. I've met a
You
lot.
know, yeah, and thank you. 'Cause I'd rather be that than Jason. You're just like everybody else.
No, you're definitely not.
So I've worked in the contact center space mainly with first and third party collection agencies for starting at right after college in the early 2000s. And then I worked for some enterprise software technology, a company called Ontario System, which is now Finbuy, which is one of the larger collection platforms in the industry, or the largest. And then I worked for a company called Billingtree that offered payment processing and websites. I worked there for about 11 years. And during the course of that, one of my clients was a contact center that doesn't, they got purchased. So they no longer exist, but they were ACT convergent out of the Northwest. And so when Billingtree sold, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I grew up, Claire. I wasn't. So I actually took a year off and I spent some time working with my wife in real estate and kind of helping her bring technology to her real estate business. And then I got a call from an old client. His name was Samir Manny. And he said, look, Jason, the contact center I was the CIO at was sold. I don't want to work for this large company that bought us. I had been, working on this work from home technology when the pandemic hit a few years ago. And now I'm going to, I've decided to make this what I do. And
Yeah,
he's like, I need a sales guy.
yeah,
And I said, you know what, Samir, my wife and I said one year, this was like in August of 22. I said, I'm going to give it a few more months and then I'll give you a call back. So I called him back and I said, I am going to come back to work in technology. And I said, let's take a look at this platform. And honestly, he was like fifth on my list of companies I was going to work for. And we scheduled a half-hour call. It lasted a little over 2 hours. And I walked out into the kitchen after that, and my wife was there. And she said, I said, I think I found my job. And she's like, well, I thought you had like 4 or 5 more meetings. I was like, yeah, I just canceled them all. I know what I want to do because I've been in positions where you're selling technology and it can become commoditized, and it's no
yeah,
fun to sell, well, honestly, a boring product that you have
yeah,
no passion for.
yeah,
And this product, with the work from home movement and all what he showed me and some of the clients that were using it that I knew that I talked to, I was sold by the end of that call. I couldn't wait to get involved in this because it is so unique. And every single time I show it to somebody, they're like, wow, I didn't even know something like this existed.
Yeah.
And so it's my job to make sure that fewer and fewer people can say that from now on.
Sure. And really it works anywhere in the world, right? I mean, it is a
That's that.
truly global product.
Well, this work from home world is now global.
Yeah.
Everybody went through it during the pandemic, and then, some people have tried to bring agents back in. That's been very difficult for their recruitment and retention. And some people have kind of gone hybrid, and some people have gone, still fully remote. And what we designed it for those remote agents, but what we've found is it really is kind of that one floor for every environment, because we've all kind of faced this, after the pandemic, we faced this monster of going from 98% of all agents worldwide on the floor. Now, you were one of the, pioneers of remote agents.
Yeah.
But most people, 98% were on a floor, to everybody at home. And then now we've got like this whole mixture in a lot of these contact centers.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult for people to solve for that new monster. Like, how do I manage all these different people? And what I love about it is, that monster creates of all these new environments, creates uncertainty, frustration, confusion, not only for the contact centers and their agents and their supervisors, but for their clients, for regulators, for consumers. So everybody is kind of like, well, that's very sensitive data there.
Yeah.
And we want everybody to be productive and engaged and secure and compliant. So it has just been it's just a fun ride, helping people finally see something that they're like, oh my gosh, we really can do this. We're not lost. And we can really have everybody on a floor when maybe it's not a physical floor, it's a virtual floor.
Yeah. I saw it. It was the answer to my dreams that a product like that existed. And I think it could help a lot of people. So, in terms of how does Collaboration Room AI provide the value for the contact center industry?
Yeah, well, like I said, it really becomes that universal floor, no matter what environment your agents and supervisors are in. And the four areas we probably affect the most are: one, engagement, making sure that supervisors and agents can engage with each other in real time, like they were on the floor. Now, one of the differences between us and well, they can IM and they can private. Well, what we do is imagine when everybody was on the floor, a supervisor sitting at their desk, they could look out across the floor and they could see everything and they could hear everything. Well, then we moved people to these remote environments, and we really took away what supervisors used as their number one tool, which is their eyes. I mean, we as human beings perceive 80% of the world around us in a second by second situation through our eyes.
Yeah.
Well, now you're a supervisor and you really don't have that ability. Well, with our platform, imagine you're a supervisor, you're sitting at your desk, you got a cup of coffee in the morning, you sit down, you turn on your monitor, and there you see all of your team. You see their video, you see their monitors. And then, we're not a company that we don't want to be a monitoring platform. So like I said, we want to be that engagement. So we turn it around and the agents can see their supervisors real time, and they can communicate, they can chat. The supervisors can give real-time coaching just like they could when they were on the floor. We have meeting and training rooms you can move people in and out of for meetings and one-on-ones. So we really that's a big piece. That's the foundation, is that engagement. And then what we've seen is productivity goes way up. Again, number one, just not even based on some of the tools in there, just on being able to engage and know that their supervisor is there with them.
Yeah.
Security and compliance is big because, well, look, some whenever I was on the floor, everything was safe and secure, cameras all around, and, supervisors saw everything. They didn't have to worry about some random person walking in off the street, and they didn't have to worry about these things too much. You
No.
could see.
Yeah.
Well, it's very easy for organizations to secure data between a remote server and an agent's desktop. That's not hard. We've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
The problem becomes here in this home office, knowing who is accessing or looking at my data. So we have some AI components in there that will, the agents can have a virtual background like you have, or a blurred background. We want them to have the privacy when they're working at home, but the AI would be able to alert the supervisor if, say, for instance, somebody came over and did a little shoulder surfing, a boyfriend, a husband, a roommate. It'll let them know that there's multiple people in that room. And then if we've trained the AI, if it sees one of these go through the video, it'll let the supervisor know, hey, there's a cell phone there. So what we're doing is we're giving those supervisors an opportunity in real time to have a conversation with the folks about the policies and procedures about working from home. And what that's done from a value perspective, obviously it makes the leadership of the contact center more confident in allowing people to work from home, which is what they want. But it also makes, if it's a BPO or a collection agency, it makes their clients more confident.
Absolutely.
And that's the key, because
that's why I think it's huge.
It's given those and soon to be the regulators, like just, I don't know, a month ago, I did a presentation for 30 members of the Consumer Financial Protection Board here in the US, which is kind of like that judge, jury, and executioner of financial institutions. And, they are big fans of work from home, but they're also really big fans of making sure consumers' financial data is safe and secure. And they took a look at it. We got great feedback from them on it. So we add value. Like if I get on a call and say to somebody, like, what's most important to you? Is it productivity, security, compliance, training and coaching, or engagement? If there's 4 people on that call from that company, I'll usually get 4 different answers. So that's what we do, is we bring it all together, and we don't make people have to put what I call Mr. Potato Head together. Like, I need a platform for that piece and a platform for this piece. It's just all right there in one package.
I think it's I think it's game changing in terms of this whole genie out of the bottle of working from home, or working, remotely. Which, and it's no surprise to me that people don't want to go back to offices. So I think this product gives us a solution to the obvious concerns. And how cool is that you're demonstrating? What was the name of that board again? That you just repeat that?
Oh, they call it, well, the acronym is CFPB, but it's the Consumer Financial Protection Board, which here in the US is, they're kind of like the, end all be all of the protection of consumer financial. It was great. I mean, I usually don't get too nervous for presentations. I've done so many, but I'll admit that one right there, when you log in and you've got 30 members of that organization sitting in front of you, man, I was a little stressed out, but it went really, really well. And, going back to what you said a second ago about, agents, you understand why they don't want to come back. And then that's a really kind of an important thing, because, I've talked to a lot of contact centers who've tried to bring them back, and it has not gone well. Retention and recruitment have really, really suffered. But look, we see these return to office mandates in the news, these large companies and such. Well, it's one thing to say to somebody who's making $100,000 or more, hey, you've got to come back into the office, because they can't walk out on the street or go online that night and have another job the next day making that same revenue. A contact center agent, on the other hand, is extremely mobile. They can go on and look, sort for contact center jobs and put in a criteria of being remote, and they've got hundreds of options and probably making the same. And they've shown that they'll actually take a little less to work from home, because like here in the US, the average cost for any employee to go from working at home to back into the office is $5,280 a year.
Yeah.
Not that big of a deal if you're making $100,000-$200,000 a year. If you're making $30,000 to $40,000 a year, that is a huge piece of the financial pie. So yeah, absolutely. I totally understand why they wouldn't work from home. And the cat's out of the bag and they're not coming back.
No. I just think it's fantastic for working parents, you know, or for working adult carers, you know, people that are looking after adult parents or disabled child or young children. You know, they've suddenly got, if they can get a job that this platform enables them to do, then they've got flexibility, but they also want to earn money. So it just frees people up.
That is one of the items that hit home the most when I had my very first conversation with Samira. I grew up with a very young mother. Some people get a pony for their 16th birthday. My mother got me, and she was a single mom for most of my life. And she had to take jobs out of the house because back in the 70s, no remote jobs like that. And she had to choose between, being home with her kids or being at work. Yeah. And now in this new environment, I've talked to so many people that they don't have to make that choice anymore between being at home with their kids or their, aging parent or whoever that might be. Yeah. And some people say, well, I'm not paying my employees to take care of the kids. Look, they don't want their kids sitting in their lap all day as much as anybody else does, but
no, you missed the point.
Yeah, but the thing is, the parent is at home, and the kid might be out there playing on their iPad, watching TV, what have you. And if something goes wrong, they can just walk out there, hey, I got to take a little time, I got to walk out here, or at lunch or breaks, just go out there and check on your kids and spend a little time with them. I mean, that is an invaluable thing that most people throughout history haven't had that option to do. And
let me ask you that, because I think that's really important from a practical point of view. How does Collaboration AI handle that in its, obviously it's in its setup, but let's say I'm I'm going to be a grandma soon, so I'm going to have a baby maybe in the house, and I want to go and check on the baby. And I was working from home. How does Collaboration AI sort of handle that in terms of, okay, the agent has got up and gone from their desk and then comes back? How does it compute that? Or
there's a lot of community. Yeah, we have communication capabilities within the platform. There's chat, and then there's private calling, so they can make a quick call to their supervisor. Hey, I got to do this. Now, from a supervisor's perspective, they don't want people, just like when they're on the floor, they don't want just people getting up, walking away when they're on, unless they're on a break or lunch.
Yeah.
So the AI allows alerts to the supervisor, not only if there's multiple people in the camera, or when it sees a cell phone, but it'll also let the supervisor know when there's no one in the camera.
Yeah.
So they can have, again, an opportunity to have a conversation. Hey, what, you weren't on break or lunch? Oh, yeah, I had to go check on it. Well, I understand that. Let me know if you've got to do something like that.
Yeah.
Just like we were on the floor, if you need to take a, walk away on a time when you're not on break or lunch or whatever, you'd let your supervisor know. But right now, the supervisors have no idea what's going on. It's kind of the Wild West out there. And I mean, I'm not saying every agent is taking advantage of it, but it doesn't take many agents taking advantage of it to start really messing with your workforce management.
Yeah. No, I think it's a dialogue between the employee and the employer, or the employee and the manager. And the better relationship you have, then this is just going to help facilitate that communication.
One of the coolest things is it's not just about supervising the agents. What our agents will tell us is, I finally, because again, the supervisor sees everybody on the team in their room, but the agents see the supervisor on their side. And what they say is, I finally get to supervise my supervisor. Because for the last 4 years, when I've needed my supervisor, it just seems like they're not always there. And so it puts that kind of that supervision on both sides. And what happens is people start to respond and act like they did when they were on the floor
Sure. Yeah,
because
sure.
there's accountability on both sides.
Accountability, I was going to say, that's the really overriding thing I'm getting from this, that everybody's
Yeah.
suddenly accountable and there's visibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this is absolutely outstanding. So so you've got this cool platform, you went to work for this guy, you're now guiding policy officials on how this technology can be deployed in contact centers to protect consumers. Very cool, very, very
Yeah.
cool. What is your favorite thing about working with contact centers?
You know, I think it's the diversity of people.
Yeah,
Like I said earlier, I might start my morning at 6 a.m. here in Arizona, talking to somebody in Europe or Asia, India, Africa, and then just I kind of follow the sun, and then I'm talking to some people from the
very cool.
US and then maybe somebody in, LATAM, South or Central
Yeah,
America, Canada, all the way over to my evenings might be talking to somebody in Australia or the Philippines. And pardon me. And I love learning about, one, how different companies are doing certain things. Everybody will say all contact centers are all the same. They are not all the same. And I learned something new from every single one of them. But it's the diversity of the people in different countries that I get to. Now, I don't speak any of their language. I love the fact I appreciate that they learn
yeah.
English
Yes.
because I'm
Same
one of
here.
those
Same here.
Americans that
Yeah.
cannot speak their language. And but that's what I love. I love
Yeah.
the diversity of this industry.
Yes. And that again is a huge game changer in terms of we talk about globalization
Mhm.
and what that means, but your product platform is enabling that globalization to actually work
You know,
in so many ways.
one of the things that some of our clients are doing, if they have multiple offices throughout, or used to have multiple offices, but they have multiple locations throughout the
Yeah.
US. Maybe they have agents in the Philippines or South Africa or India. Well, before, when everybody was on the floor, they had to group all of those people geographically together on a
Yeah.
team for the most part. But what we're seeing now is we've broken down all those barriers. So they've got a project. And they go, all right, what are the best supervisors and agents for this project? Well, we've got 3 of them over in India, 2 here in South Africa, 5 of them over here in the Philippines. Just put them in one room together on our
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
Now they're all in there together. They're learning about each other. So we're breaking down barriers and borders, and it just becomes about, being a team.
Yeah. I have to say that's how my team work. We just hang as an international team. We don't
Mhm.
really think about ourselves where we are on the planet. We just all hang together in one kind of
And I
environment.
love that. It's like one big melting pot on our platform.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, so I think this is, again, this is. I'm so glad that you're coming to Congress to talk about this and
Wait.
meet people and they'll be able to really. Some people want to get into it with you in terms of how this platform could be deployed. Um, So the platform itself is using AI. You said it can spot the mobile phone, it can spot people in the background. Um, I mean, what do you think is the role of AI for contact centers in the future? I mean, we're just at the start, aren't we?
We are. Some people like to ask the question, like, I hear it a lot at conferences, is AI going to replace agents?
Mm,
And you got some people say absolutely not. You got some people that say, it's just going to augment, they'll take care of the easy stuff. The agents will be there for the hard stuff. And then there's people out there like, yeah, the agents will be gone. Now, in my career working in contact centers, I've probably seen the demise of the agent 5 times. When dialers first came out, we won't need hardly any agents now because we're not manually dialing. When websites came out for those, for especially for collection
Yeah.
agents, they're like, oh, the websites and the IVRs will take care of all the payments. We won't need agents anymore. And then, AI starts to evolve and such like that. Here's my thoughts on what it will only grow. I think it will help augment agents and a lot of platforms out there focus on augmenting the agents. We do a little bit of that, but we also try to augment and help the supervisors, as we've
Yeah.
talked about. I like to refer to, I'm a big metaphor analogy person. I always forget if it's a metaphor or an analogy, but
Whatever.
when somebody asks me like, hey, what do you think AI is going to do to the number of agents? And I look back in history and I say, well, let's talk about the tractor. When they first introduced the tractor, people probably thought, oh, no more farm workers. Farm working is done. We got this tractors that can do all of this stuff. Well, it did change the number needed and it took care of some tasks, but here we are 100 years later and still got a lot of farm workers out there.
Yeah.
And they will always be needed. Now, some of those people transition from farm working to maybe building tires for the tractors, building engines for the tractors.
Yeah.
So some jobs did shift. But at the end of the day, if you ask any farmer in the US, they wouldn't know what to do if they didn't have their farm workers.
Yeah.
But they also wouldn't know what to do if they didn't have their tractors. So I think they both will be important going forward.
Yeah.
I really do. I think they will be complementary. I don't think